Hey YouTube, this is Black Hawk Thunder, and as you can see, this video is going to be about the PlayStation experience. So I know it's a little late, but I finally got around to watching the PlayStation experience, and this video will basically just be my general thoughts and impressions of it. So in case you don't know, the PlayStation experience is basically just another E3 that took place in early December of this year. They showed us some of the upcoming games, and just they showed you the trailers and what kind of progress they've made on it. And there's some games that were, in beta already, and some games pre-alpha, and so there was a good mixed bag of it, and some of them were AAA titles and some of them were indie games. But they plan on doing this again and making it an annual thing. So basically, we will have a biannual event where we can hear about all the new and upcoming games. So instead of just having E3 to look forward to once a year, we have E3 and the PlayStation experience to look for twice a year. So anyway, let's get into the meat of it. The first thing that they showed was some Uncharted 4 gameplay. And if you look it up, keep in mind it's in pre-alpha, but and a lot of the textures and different filters are not in the game yet, but it still looks really good. And the fact that it's a whole year from release and they have gameplay looking this great already makes me even more excited for the game and more confident that it will be a good game. So I think they showed like 15 minutes of gameplay too, and there's a lot of different new animations that they have, and the AI appears to be pretty smart as well. So it's a major evolution, I think, for both the Uncharted franchise as well as just gaming in general. Okay, and the next thing they showed that intrigued me, I thought, was Bloodborne. So early on, I thought it was an intriguing thing. I saw the teaser trailer; it looked interesting, but I wasn't quite sure what it was, and it really didn't grab my attention too much. And from what they showed at the VGAs at first, I thought the game didn't look too good at first. But from what they showed at PlayStation Experience, it got me a lot more hyped for the game. I still don't think it's one of the games that I'm really excited for next year, or a game that would go on my most anticipated games list, but it definitely has gotten on my radar now. So one thing I definitely like about it is the art style. It's very detailed, and it's got a lot of like original enemies and concepts that you don't see in a lot of other games. Another thing I found interesting about Bloodborne is that there's co-op in it, and the other character, he wore like a white cloak. I can't remember exactly what they called him, but you can play co-op with up to one of your other friends. And there was this one segment where they were fighting this dragon in this dungeon, and it opened its mouth to like attack him with like fire or something, and you look into it, and inside of its mouth had such great detail. It was amazing. It just blew me away. Absolutely stunning. And of course, Bloodborne is based on the Dark Souls or Demon Souls franchises, but it didn't look quite as hard, so that might be a plus, because I've heard Dark Souls is really hard. I haven't actually played it though. And last of all, Bloodborne seems to have some like Victorian era or steampunk themes integrated into it. And I've always been intrigued by the steampunk universe, so I think that might make the game a little more intriguing for me. Okay, next up, they showed some of the Destiny DLC, The Dark Below. And let me tell you, I don't even see why they're still talking about this game. I mean, or at least supporting it and still mentioning it at these major events like that. I mean, the game was messy on launch, and Bungie clearly, sacrificed having a good, well-polished, well-rounded, complete game experience at launch for a full, like, support plan down the road. I mean, they said they're going to support the game, for 10 more years after launch. I mean, maybe it's just me, but and I know a lot of people are with me, though, on this, that who's going to be playing this game 10 years down the road from now? Now, I'm not saying that Destiny is completely irrelevant now, because it's not, but I just feel they could have used their time at the PlayStation experience better for, talking about other things instead of the Destiny DLC. Okay, next up, there was a game called Killing Floor, and it's basically, well, the title pretty much sums it up. You just kill shit. That's basically the whole premise of the game. It definitely has like a next-gen look to it, even though it's made by an indie studio, and kind of almost looks like a game that you might see on Gmod or something, or at least the way it plays. But the closest game I could compare it to is like a more impressive Left 4 Dead. Because you like kill zombies and stuff, and there are some other creatures it looks like. But anyways, it looks like a cool game. And whoever made it, I forgot who made it, but it's their first time bringing this franchise to the PlayStation, so that's pretty cool. Anyways, next game that I thought looked interesting was The Forest, and that's coming to PS4. I know it's been on PC before. People like Markiplier or Jacksepticeye, they've played it before, and it looks kind of almost like it's a game still in beta testing. And I think on the PC it was an open beta for a long time. But I don't know. I think it looks cool, even though it's slightly glitchy. But fun game to play with your friends. Next up is Darkest Dungeon. This is a turn-based side-scrolling RPG, and I guess it's kind of like a more recent game that's come out to my knowledge that you could compare this to would be South Park: The Stick of Truth. Or I remember a game that I played way back when I was a kid, Bookworm Adventures. It has a lot of similarities to that. And it's kind of a cartoon looking thing, and you basically select cards and then attack your opponents with them, and gives them certain effects. So it's kind of like just a card game like Magic or something, only it has something more on the screen for you to look at. Next game is Orcs Must Die. This game, it looked pretty funny. It was narrated by a kind of corny hero, but it has a very comic book, kind of like a what do you call Plants vs Zombies, kind of like Garden Warfare type of look. So it's very comical, and that's, I think, the best thing it has going for it, because to me the gameplay and everything didn't look too appealing. It looks like something that could have easily been done on last gen, and it looks like it still has a ways to go. Like it might be a little buggy at the moment, but it definitely was kind of intriguing. It was, made you laugh a bit. So next game is one of my most anticipated games of next year, Batman Arkham Knight. They showed the last part, or the last part of the Ace Chemicals infiltration trailer, and I gotta tell you, it looks pretty cool. I encourage you to go check it out for yourself. One thing, I know the Batmobile, of course, has been probably the biggest hit, the biggest thing, most talked about thing for this next game, but the rest of the gameplay looks good too, and it's definitely been improved in every way I can think of. But the Batmobile, does a burnout in there too. The burnout looks pretty sick. Okay, next game has generated a lot of controversy over the last few weeks after it's been announced, but that is Street Fighter V, since it has been announced to be a PlayStation 4 exclusive. Now, real quickly, I'm going to tell you my thoughts on doing this type of a thing. Taking a multi-plat game and making it an exclusive to one console should never happen. It is totally unfair to the player who was playing on their console before and they can't play it anymore. Now, I can understand, like, if you had a game like Metal Gear Solid, for instance, that used to be a PlayStation exclusive, and now they have brought it over and made it a cross-platform, that's fine. I feel that's something that is acceptable. But taking a game that has previously been cross-plat and turning it into an exclusive, that just is not fair. It is not right. It is something that needs to stop. Absolutely needs to stop. Okay, so the next game that I would like to talk about is Until Dawn. So it is basically the next game made by the same studio that makes Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls. And it was really cool because at the PlayStation Experience, they made it interactive with the audience, kind of. While the guy played it up on stage, the audience would, like, there'd be like two choices. Like, he could either run. Oh, by the way, it's a horror game. And basically in the demo, somebody came into the woman's house, and she had to flee, kind of. But anyways, yeah, you got to choose. They would have the audience choose whether they wanted the character to run or hide or whatever, and it provided a really cool interactive experience between the audience and the person playing up front. But that game definitely looks intriguing. Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls, those are both great games, especially Heavy Rain. Amazing game. Okay, next game. Order 1886. This game, when they first announced it like a couple of years ago, it intrigued me, but since then they haven't showed much of it, and it started worrying me. And from what I've heard, they've been having the same build of the game for a long time, so I was afraid that this game wouldn't be very good. But this new build of the game looks better, although I do feel like in some parts of the cutscenes, some like sound effects were missing, or during the gameplay, like I felt sometimes the camera might have been a little too close to the player. Another concern surrounding the Order 1886 are the QTE takedowns. It does provide a cool cinematic look, but a lot of people feel that it takes you away from the gameplay experience too much. So that is a valid concern. The next game definitely created a lot of disappointment for many people, and that is Square Enix. They announced Final Fantasy VII was coming to the PlayStation 4, and basically what they did, they took the remastered version of the PS1 version of the game that was put on the PC and basically just ported it over to the PS4. So it is not a true remake, and that's why a lot of people are disappointed. Me personally, I don't play the Final Fantasy game, so I'm not affected by it, but if I did, I'm sure I would be quite disappointed too. Okay, so the last game that was shown was by a small studio. It's called Drawn to Death. And the premise of Drawn to Death is there is a high school student who basically creates sketches in his notebook, and you play as the sketches. You play in the world of his notebook. And there's a lot of customization that can go into it, and because of the way they design the game, and the idea of it, there's like no limitations on what you can do. So you can create pretty much any kind of character you want, and they've offered so many options. So it looks pretty good. The game is in pre-alpha, but already it is looking pretty good and pretty solid, and it's an intriguing concept that's never been done before at all. I've never seen anything like it. So it looks really interesting. The last thing I would like to mention about the PlayStation experience is that they did something really cool to encourage you to go to all the booths and play all the games. And that is that after you played the game, they would give you a playing card with something on it that signified that thing that you did at the PlayStation experience. So you could walk away with a whole deck of playing cards at the end of the PlayStation experience. I really wish I was there because I would like a unique deck of playing cards like that. But anyways, that's it for this video, you guys. Let me know in the comments what you thought of it, if you saw it, and I'll see you next time.